Voidbreaker just released in early access a little over a week ago, and I haven't been this surprised by a game in a long time. It's just a no-nonsense blitz of visual stimulation, auditory stimulation, and control stimulation, creating a game that no matter how you cut it up, feels amazing to just interact with on a base level. Once the movement and gameplay sequence solidifies in your brain, there is little that feels like this game. This year alone, we have seen a lot of roguelikes. Some I've played. I will crash the fuck out, bro. Some I haven't. Things like Blueprints look really good. That one's been on my radar for a long time. And I don't think I need to say anything else about Night Rain because my last video was basically a 20-minute glaze sesh. Then I'm mad at how much I liked Nubby's Number Factory. It's up there with Night Rain for my favorite roguelikes of recent memories, but it also keeps rearing its ugly head when I think about my favorite games of the year. A year which sees me playing more games than the past 3 years combined, and this thing lives near the front, rent-free. All that to say, there is a lot of these games from this year alone, not to mention others that stay in my rotation, like Balatro, Risk of Rain, and Shapes of Dreams. So for a game like this to have come out and I immediately lock it in as one of the better ones is definitely rare. The game immediately drops you into a tutorial that does a really good job at not just telling you, but showing you the core mechanics of the game. And it does this in a cool way so as to not spoil some of the more advanced tech. It showcases movement, gun feel, and most importantly, the destruction. And if you're wondering why it zoomed in like this, it's because I played the entire tutorial in the first half of my first run before checking the resolution on my recording software. Go me. Anyways, the end of the tutorial drops you into your new home, a single room that looks like a discarded first attempt at interior design by a Silicon Valley tech bro. But there is a hole in the floor, an area that Idris cannot see. Idris being the all-powerful AI that follows you around and watches your every move. I think it'd be quicker if I just showed you parts of this cutscene to kind of give you the premise of the game, so here you go.
Well done for making it this far, but you've only just begun. This wretched place will never let you go. An infinite, perpetual testing algorithm, refining itself at our expense. Wasn't too long ago I found this place, hidden away. It's different. A flaw in the system. Backdoor access that he doesn't know about. A way out is here. I can feel it. I ran out of time, but you still can.
Pretty usual affair, you know, hamster wheel type beat. The story ends up being pretty cool, but I don't want to talk about that too much because it's not finished yet. You beat the last boss and it gives you a big old to be continued screen. When hopping into the first run, I had two main first impressions. The game looks gorgeous, and it also has an ass-kicking sound design / soundtrack. I have all the settings cranked on this game, and I will be honest, my PC kind of struggles at points keeping up, but the ray tracing and art style make me think it's well worth the occasional missed frames. In terms of sound, the guy that made the music for the game not only understood the assignment, but he outdid himself. His name is Joe Ford, and he did the soundtrack and sound design for the entire game. So every time this game fondles your brain due to its sound, that's Joe Ford. I would describe what it's like to experience this game as a thrilling amalgamation of mechanics you can find in other places, but not all together and not all as polished. This is a high-octane, visually cluttered mess of raw creativity thrown into a blender that ran for 12 months. Then when it was time, they took it out, stapled a grapple hook onto it, slapped it on its ass, and told it to get in there, champ. Now we have Voidbreaker. The game that shares the most mechanics with Voidbreaker is the finals, but those are still two very different experiences. If Voidbreaker was the Rock from Uncut Gems, the finals is the Rock from Dwayne, and no, I'm not dignifying that with an explanation. The final product of Voidbreaker is overwhelming and beautiful. A game that I can put 6 hours into in a single day, but won't even touch after a work shift because it takes way too much brain power. Sounds like a bunch of hoopla, I know, but let me take some time to explain to you the mechanics of the game that I just talked about for 5 minutes, and then at the end of the video you can tell me if I'm wrong. This game could be considered a movement-based shooter. Like I alluded to earlier, once it clicks and you really get the movement, that's when the game really starts. You get the usual sprint and slide, but you also get a double jump, dash, and a grapple hook, and also these rails to grind on, which are pretty cool. I've played games that have a majority of these things before, you know, games like Ultra Kill and Apex Legends come to mind. But the way that momentum carries with everything that you do in this game feels phenomenal. It has a fluidity to it that I haven't really felt outside the Source engine. Just giving these tools to the player and saying go wild is exactly what game devs should have been doing from the jump. There's something to be said about the on-rails, hyper-polished games that exist today. You know, I wouldn't want to live in a world without God of War 2018. But I think this is a note that some AA devs can learn from. If your options are more player agency at the expense of your game potentially being broken a little bit, or just an okay feeling game that you tried to lock down on a polished movement mechanic, but you couldn't really make the latter work very well, so it didn't feel amazing, I'd say go with the first one. Players stick around for a fun game, and you can fix glitches as they arise. On top of movement being a core gameplay mechanic, there are two more that I think are straight up strokes of genius that kind of go hand in hand. You are going to take damage in this game, and it's a roguelike, so you need to heal or your run is over. The game has destruction physics that I think are only rivaled by the finals. It is so polished that the dev made it so you have to drop destruction onto the enemies, putting them into a stunned state, then kill them, and that's how you drop ammo and health. This on its own is enough to hook me into the game, but I got even more obsessed with the game the more I played because this really forces you to think differently about the buildings and cover you are using. The more this clicked, the cleaner my runs became, and I got more familiar with what works and what doesn't. It is such a cool mechanic that could only have been pulled off after the destruction was complete and polished. The other mechanic that goes with this is the gravity tether. Aside from your grenade, this will be the main way that you cause the environmental damage that you need to refill your ammo. It feels basically like the grab from the finals, but the range on this one is a lot farther. You can basically grab something from an infinite range as long as you're accurate enough to point at it directly with your mouse. I don't actually know if that's true, but the game has only been out for a week and there's not really a wiki to check that against, but it definitely feels like it at times. This mechanic being as vital as it is and so deeply rooted into the game reminds me of how much I enjoyed the kick mechanic in Noita. It gives the players so much agency and it just works. If I were to describe all of the core mechanics of this game in a single word, it would be cohesive. The weapons in this game are okay. There's only 4 in the game at the moment, and you choose which one you want to play with at the start of each run. You get to choose from a pistol, assault rifle, shotgun, and marksman rifle. Some of these definitely feel better than others, like I have yet to have a run where I've loved the marksman rifle. I keep trying to make it work, but I just haven't had the luck. I'm not a huge fan of the pistol either, but I've made it work before. It's one of those things that it gets really bad faster than the other weapons, but if you have a god run with it, it just feels amazing. I spend most of my time, however, switching between the assault rifle and the shotgun. My favorite weapons to use in shooters are shotguns and snipers, and there are no snipers in this game. Side note, dev, if you're seeing this, by some miracle, please add a railgun. That would be so sick in this game. All that said, every weapon in the game is bad by the 3rd or 4th area if you don't get any kind of damage modifications. Speaking of, the modifications and the system behind it are where a lot of the depth from the game comes from. After every area clear, you get a chest with a choice between 3 modifications. There are 4 types of modifications: weapon, projectile, ability, and body mods. Weapon mods are largely used to change everything about how your weapon itself behaves. Examples being things like a burst fire mode, which is my favorite mod to put on the shotgun, or there's a weapon mod that changes your single shot into a grid shot. Also things like arcing electricity or a firebolt to do some AoE damage. These mods often define what type of build you're going to run, a high damage single target build or something that can just litter the battlefield with AoE damage. Some weapon mods benefit both those builds as well, like take the mod that increases your damage by 300% if you're sliding, for example. This one carried me when I beat the first zone entity for the first time. Next are the projectile mods. These modifications change what your bullets do after they come out of the gun. You can get one that changes your bullets into a grenade, or maybe some bubbles that fly forward slowly and then explode after a short time, or the one that let me beat the game for the first time, Spark Breaker. It shoots out some sparks, it looks almost like fireworks, and after a short time they fizzle out into a burst for high burst damage. So it does more damage at its maximum range, and it goes through enemies. I had a run where I had a shotgun with 4-round burst and this mod on, and it felt amazing. These projectile mods are also things that need more ammo. Your base weapon has unlimited ammo, but if you want to keep using the fun stuff, you have to stay conscious of your ammo count and kill staggered enemies appropriately. Ability mods are what they sound like. They basically give you a magic ability that you didn't have before. These range from ignite all currently staggered enemies to basically a fireball. To be honest, I find these pretty rare and I haven't seen too many in my time with the game. All the ones that I've seen do something fairly cool, and I'm sure there's some tech I haven't found with some of them yet, but for now I have minimal knowledge of them. I've read online that there are shield ones and like gravity vortex ones, but I've yet to see either of those. Body modifications are basically base stat character upgrades, like more movement speed, extra double jump, more damage resistance. They're not crazy, but they're definitely not a bad choice if your run is just not working out. Like if you're having a scuffed run, damage resistance may be the best bet for you at some points. Moving on to some of the most powerful mods, corrupted mods. These mods are kind of like lunar items from Risk of Rain. They marry your build to a crazy powerful characteristic, but with a drawback of some sort. Take this run for example. Here I'm rocking an assault rifle with Spark Breaker, like I said, one of my favorites, as well as a mod that gives it 0 recoil. Already kind of a laser beam, kind of dope. Then add another mod that speeds up the fire rate the longer you hold the trigger. And that one is being stacked. I have 2 of those. Now, I know what you're thinking. This shit is bonkers cool. I agree. But you have to understand, the magazine size was the issue here. So when I came across one of these corrupted mods called potato.pot that tells me I can increase my magazine size inversely proportional to my game's resolution, I stood here in game for like 45 seconds because IRL I pushed my chair back and hit one of these. Unfortunately, this run ended with me literally throwing, but that's alright. I didn't know I was in the midst of a god run at that moment. I was just kind of having fun learning the game because that was literally run 6 for me. I love this archetype of item in a game because it's just so volatile. Every time I pick one up, there's a rush due to the idea that that moment just decided my run. I promise I don't gamble. I promise. This is joined by other really cool mods though, like one that drastically increases your fire rate but you have to empty the entire clip every time you pull the trigger, or the one that just sounds like a net positive, unlimited special ammo but your regular fire does minimal damage. I've never seen this one, it just sounds like a no-brainer to me. I want to finish up this modification section with arguably the coolest ones. Even more of the depth of the game absolutely comes from the way they decided to let you implement your mods. It is a classic ARPG style inventory window. Different guns have different preset patterns that are available to you at the start of a run. I save these modifications for the end because it can largely swing the approach of your run as well. Plus, these kind of go hand in hand with the inventory system. So, they're called utility mods. There are 2 different kinds, invokers and repeaters. Invokers give you more inventory spaces. Sometimes it will be a spherical invoker, opening all the slots around the one you placed it in. Or maybe it's an entire row of the slot you placed it in. The RNG of getting these, along with the changing pattern of pre-unlocked spaces via gun, make for a game that reminds me a lot of Noita and the way you can customize your weapon to make just the coolest combos. Then we have repeaters. These do exactly what you think they do. It will point in a direction and stack the mod it points at, usually disabling 2 slots on other sides of it though, so there's some give and take to it. And in a move that I think Risk of Rain can learn from, the mods themselves tell you what is going to change when you throw a repeater on them. There is 0 guesswork involved. I don't need to go look at the wiki every time I get a new item. I don't need to install a mod so it tells me what it's gonna do. So even if it's something that stacks indefinitely as is, or it's something like you get more electric arcs from your electric bullets, the game will tell you what is going to change. And this is why the game scratches such a similar itch as Risk of Rain for me. I'm able to just do batshit crazy things and I get rewarded for it. Okay, now that we've discussed the core mechanics of the game, I trust that you'll be playing it now, right? Right? I understand if you're not completely sold on it yet. So to tie all this together, the broader view of the gameplay looks like this. You get a map that shows you the islands you're progressing through. These are called areas, and the entirety of a row of areas is called a zone. At the end, you fight a boss called a zone entity. Once you beat the zone entity, you move to the next zone and repeat the process. To beat the game, you currently have to beat 3 zones and their respective entities. This feat becomes way more doable when you look at the map and plan out what route you want to take ahead of time. Each area has a different thing going on. Some have enemies, some have shops, others have gambling. Side note, these gambling areas are really cool. You like walk into it and it's like a portal. It'll teleport you somewhere random. This freaked the hell out of me once because it took me to like this freaky ass factory where I was playing Lethal Company with weeping angels and shit. It was really cool, but it freaked me out. Like, brother, it is 3 a.m. I can't be doing this right now. I gotta know. Some of the coolest things going on in these areas are obelisks. They offer you a trade usually, like one that could either double your golden health or half your golden health. It's just a raw 50-50 that I've lost every single time. It's just a cool concept for a game like this, and it allows for more like run-changing moments to happen. Okay, but I think I'm gonna call it here for the gameplay stuff. I didn't even get into like customization or research, but at this point, you're either gonna play it or you're not. So I'm obviously in love with this game and will probably continue to play it as I get more free time. And for the sake of transparency, my goal for this video was just to get you to know about this game. I think it's just way too good and it's flying way too far below the radar for a lot of people. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching to the end. I hope that you found this game as cool as I do. Some of the shit that this game does is so sick and I just don't see enough people talking about it. Anyway, I appreciate you. You're a champion for sticking through the whole thing, and I'll see you in the next one.
Hello, hello.